big rock right there. That's what I'm pulling out of here. That and larger. It looks like I'm running out of battery. Well, it's got a little left yet. It's a lot cooler today than yesterday when I was doing this. Nice breeze. Maybe it'll last a lot longer. And when blackberry picking, I got almost a gallon of that. Didn't get lost this time. I don't know if I told you the story. Last week, I was up here and I was looking for blackberries in out of the way places. Here's a little, that's a little elephant garlic bulb, I think. I'm gonna plant that. I stuck some of those all over the place. I actually found quite a few of them. Making a Upper Peninsula elephant garlic strain too. Those roots. I don't have access to enough cardboard right now. That's really the way to go, is to cardboard this all up and then work it the next year. And I wasn't planning on working it this year, but I got all those bills, so I got to do something. I know I don't have enough room at the house, in my backyard, so involved in some manual labor. This is better than rotor tilling. Well, I was going to tell you my lost story. I was looking for these out-of-the-way places farther away from the logging roads that I would drive back in on to find blackberries. Looking for some patches that weren't picked by other people. You still get them even though other people are picking them, because I think some ripen every single day. Just you gotta work for it. And so I actually found a real nice patch quite a ways off the logging road. It encouraged me to go looking for some more. And I drove up the lane a little ways from where a small patch was that I picked in the past. And there were some big trees. There's a log over the road, so I thought, well, I'll park here, I'll just walk down the logging road. And I could see where there was a clear cut down. I had to look down upon it from the top of the little ridge there I was parked on. And there was big trees down there. So I walked those big trees down there and thought, boy, this is kind of a nice spot for deer hunting. There was the clear cut was probably 10 years old or so, so there was, you know, starting mature, or not mature, but, you know, popples that were getting up a little higher. And that was in a point. I'm putting compost in here, so that's why I'm making this. So right at that point, the big trees ended, and on the other side of the point was a tag elder swamp. And boy, this is a nice intersection, lots of edge. 3 different edges that come together. And there's a big maple tree in a little ways. And I walked in there. Sure enough, there was a real nice deer trail. I thought, well, I'm going to take that deer trail. I can kind of see it clearing off in the distance. I'm going to take that deer trail and see where it leads. So maybe I'll go deer hunting there. So off I went. And it was really dark because there's no sun. The clouds are thick. I got in there to declare, and there was no blackberries. I was kind of looking around, different trees, different stands, looking at the trails coming through, and I thought, well, I'll just make an angle back to those big trees and start walking it. And it's like, well, I don't know, this will take me longer than it should. I'm not that far away. I didn't think about this a little bit. So I kind of thought, well, there's where the sun is, I think, through the clouds. You can just barely see it. It was a little lighter. And I knew I was heading north when I went in, so I wanted to walk towards the sun as I walked up to get out. I kind of did that a little bit, but boy, it was really dark and I wasn't sure. And I found this old tree stand in there. An old ladder stand. Ooh, here's another bulb for garlic bugille. Garlic bulb. Elephant garlic. It's actually wild leek. And I was getting kind of an idea, boy, I'm not really sure. I'm just walking way too much. And so I thought, well, I'm going to head towards that sun. I started walking. I think it might have been 15 minutes later. I walked in a complete circle, and there I was looking at that tree stand. Well, and I knew I wasn't for sure where I was. That area there is a part of a larger area, probably a couple thousand acres of state land. And I knew it was kind of bordered on one side by the river, and there was a gravel road that went all the way around it. So I knew I wouldn't get lost, but man, if you're circling around, you could circle around for hours and hours. So what I ended up doing, and I actually kind of thought I was walking towards the sun again. I tried it again, and I was just getting deeper and deeper into this tag elder swamp where I couldn't even see any large trees off the horizon anymore. So what I ended up doing is I got onto a logging road, a real old one. It was actually overgrown with tag elders. I couldn't even walk in the ruts. Of course, there were ruts there because that was a soft part of the soil in the swamp. So I couldn't even walk in the ruts. There's too many tag elders, but I could follow it along. And I knew they weren't going to drive around in circles. So that just made sense. And I followed it, and I was twisting and turning through those tag elders. I stay on it, and then all of a sudden it ended. And here, there was a pretty large wet area. Here's another ball. There's an open, wet area that was just growing, grasses, no trees. And I'm thinking, well, that must have been the end point of the Must have been the end point of the logging road, and then they went the other way to get out. I thought, oh man, it's a lot of walking and followed it back. So I looked across and I could see there was a ridge on the other side. All I had to do was get across the water, and I walked through it. I had moccasins on, so it wasn't too bad. And sure enough, there was a ridge there. Got up on the ridge, and it was kind of a pretty decent logging road on it. You could tell it wasn't used for a long time, but it wasn't full of tag alders. A lot easier walking. And it was up high, and both sides it sank down into the swamp. So I had actually 3/4 of a quart of berries with me. This is a bulb from one of my grandma's onions, and I sat by an old birch tree. I don't know, the thought came to me, I'm going to ask the birch tree, what would you do, birch tree? Which way should I go? The birch tree wasn't very nice. Kind of called me a name and said, if you go back where you're coming from, where you came from, you're going to be running through the swamp. If you go to either side of the ridge, you're also going to be walking through swamp. So you got one choice, and that's where you're going. So I kind of, okay, that's where I'm going. And ate my berries, had a nice break, and off I went. And then that little logging road turned into a real nice logging road that you could see somebody actually had used. And then I followed, I actually had a choice to make right there, either right or left. And I still wasn't giving up on my close idea, close to the truck. I thought, well, maybe I came out on the logging road I was parked on, way down the ways. So if I take a right, if that's the logging road, I'm just going to walk right back to the truck. And well, I ended up walking, and then I found the gravel road that I'm very familiar with, and I knew I was a long ways away from my truck. And then I started thinking, well, maybe somebody will come along and give me a ride. So I started walking, and nobody came along. I just kept coming, walking and walking and walking, and I walked all the way back to my truck. And today I went back through there to see how many miles it was that I walked, and on the gravel roads it was 3.2 miles. And I kind of walked around on 3 sides of a square. The fourth side would be where I walked through the woods. And I walked through the woods, I probably walked in some circles, so I'm kind of thinking I put on 5 miles. I started at 11ish, and I got back to the truck at 2:08. So that gives you an idea. Okay, so we're done with this. I'm going to put the compost in here. Battery's almost out, so I'm going to hurry. So this is compost that I actually use for growing potatoes already. And it's nice stuff. Just look at this. Look at that. Best stuff on earth right there. So that's all I'm doing. I'm covering it back over with some material that I just cleaned up. And I'm planting onions on it. Actually, I'm planting onion bulbils. They're a variety of Egyptian onion that came from my grandmother. She's long since departed us, but she still exists in my mind, and as her onions. There, now I'm going to plant bulbils in here.